So, some impressions about this chapter in Fowler. First of all, just like you have in every profession, right? Nurses come from all over the political perspective. But I think maybe unlike what you have in some professions, the work unites them. Nurses in dealing with patient care, um, they seem to have an incredible ability to put aside their own perspective about maybe what got that patient there, right? And just to deal with the reality that is someone who needs their help. And nurses have a real, it seems from my experience, a real ability. Again, both with students of mine and my wife, of course, and then friends of hers who are nurses. Nurses have a real ability to refrain from judging, at least in the moment, and to what you do in your own time. I can't speak to, but to offer the kind of quality health care. To do their best in the middle of sometimes very trying, difficult circumstances, and in a way to give evidence of that value ethic that they bring to the table. So the question then becomes for me is, are nurses ethical because of the profession, or is it mainly ethical people that are nurses? And I'll let you figure that out based on your experience. But I just think it's great that you'll have a group of nurses that have a variety of opinions on how to solve one social problem or another. But the commitment to high quality patient care, regardless of circumstances, binds them together. I think that's a strength of the profession. I think it brings clarity to not only to the role but to the goal, right? So you have a role as a nurse, and a nurse in any particular setting. You have a role there, but you also have a goal. There's something that you need to accomplish for the sake of for the sake of the patients under your care, for the sake of the team working together. And I think that brings a kind of camaraderie. Now, I work in higher education, and we're like herding cats. I have wonderful colleagues, but when we go through this process, and some of you will do it, you'll not just complete your bachelor's degree, but you'll complete your master's degree and your doctoral degree. And to do that, you have to be able to work on your own. But then what we do is we hire people as faculty, and we want them to work together. And it's kind of counterintuitive. And yet for nurses, I think it's more natural because that's part of nurse culture. It's not necessarily a part of the working culture in every environment. It's something I admire. I think it's a strength of the profession. I think it's a strength of the individual nurses whom I have known. I think another thing that happens here is that with this kind of ethic binding you together, and this kind of social ethic that impacts the profession, it brings a kind of creed to bear on practice, which is lacking in other fields. I think of, actually there's this refrain at the end of the book of Judges. 3 or 4 times the writer says, in those days, everyone did what was right in their own eyes because there was no king in Israel. And it's obvious to many of us interpreters that what the writer's trying to do is set up the need for a king to make everything run smoothly in Israel. And when you don't have a king, when you don't have a leader or a ruler, then what happens is everybody just does what they want to do. But it seems that the opposite is true very often in nursing. And I'm painting in big, broad perspective here, right? But that kind of commitment to one goal, quality patient care, quality patient care. Even if it's not written anywhere, in some respects it doesn't have to be, because you know going into the profession that's what you need to do. And I think that brings a kind of creed, a kind of standard, right, of what's right and what's wrong. And that, what is that but an ethic, and an ethic that is demonstrable in the lives of patients and the team serving and helping them. So those are some perspectives, some impressions about Fowler. Really enjoyed this chapter as well, and I think it functions well with what we're going to talk about the rest of this week. Be back in a few.